Okay, here we are. Hello, everyone. Today is Thursday, the third Thursday in May, the month. So today is a time for our ESCOM webinars. Today is the 22nd of May, and we have a very interesting and very helpful webinar about dunes and vegetation. Since last year, when we started our network and our project, we were very curious about which plants we have in the eastern shore of Nova Scotia. And we were surprised, really surprised, because after the summer, we discovered that we don't have here in Nova Scotia any kind of inventory or any list of which species of vegetation we have in our beaches. At least in our research, I did a quick research, just trying to find a paper or a book or a catalog focus on the beach vegetation on the eastern shore of Nova Scotia. I didn't find anything, so I will continue searching later with our marine biology students. We were, during this year, trying to find any other reference, but until today, we still don't know any list of species in Nova Scotia in the eastern shore. So it means that we really need to advance that. And this is what we do as a scientist, as a citizen scientist. We go to the beaches that we have close to our house, close to the place that we are living, and we start identifying these beaches, this vegetation. We can do many things with the vegetation. We can measure the distribution of the different species. We can measure the biodiversity, how many different species we have. We can do many things, but the first thing that we need to do is to identify which species we have, because we don't have this list. So this is why today we are very happy to have here our guest speaker, Professor Patricia Guadarrama from Mexico, but I will speak about her just in a while. First, I want to remember to everyone that next week we have our spring workshops. The spring workshops are our most important event during the year, because we are just ready to go outside to visit beaches, and especially to try to identify new vegetation species, to know which flora we have there. But before that, we need to remember what we have done until today, what we achieve, what we want to achieve. And also, we have some interesting activities during this workshop. We have that Eva, our master student, she will have an exercise, an interactive exercise, quite interesting for all of us. And also, we won a grant, a knowledge mobilization grant with an institution called Miopar. So now we are creating a web-based data management platform. But we want your input, because this management platform will be for us. Will be the platform in which we're going to start entry all the data that we collect on beaches, but also will be the same platform in which we can start visualizing this data that we are collecting. And also we will have there some training materials, mainly a wiki page with all the different concepts and information about the parameters that we are collecting on the beach. But also it will have the opportunity that you can download your own data organized. So it will be nice, but we need your input about how to create this website. And also these training materials, with which topics do you want to learn? What are these topics that you are more interested for? So this will be in our workshops next week. We will start in Chip Harbor in the Deanery Project on Monday, 26. On Tuesday, 27, we go to the Legion in Chip Harbor. On Thursday, we are in Canso, exactly in Hazel Hill in the Canso Academy. And on Friday, we will be in Larry's River, in the Larry's River School. And the week after, on Tuesday, the 3rd of June, we will be in Sherbrooke, yeah, with all the people from Port Bickerton, Port Hereford, and Sherbrooke area. So just be I hope I see you, all of you there in person, and will be a celebration for us. But okay, let's start with our webinar. I want to introduce our guest speaker, is Professor Patricia Guadarrama. Patricia is a professor in the Autonomous University of Mexico, and she's living on the coast because she's also a coastal community member. So she's living in Yucatan in a place that's called CISAL. She's part of the Faculty of Science, and she has a PhD in biology, and she's also the founder of one of the most interesting projects that I have seen in my life related with the coast, and it's called Recycling Dunes, Reciclando Dunas, is the name in Spanish, Recycling Dunes. And it's a quite nice experiment that started as a project in the university, and later with the student, they created an NGO. Okay, but I will leave a space to Patricia that she can tell us about the project, but also about dunes and vegetation, and mainly how to identify beach plants. And what will be more interesting, I think I'm really excited about that, is that we are very close, that Patricia will be here in less than a month. So most probably, in less than a month, we will be all together in your beaches, just identified beach plants. So let's start with the theory. Let's start with the webinar. So, hello, Patricia. Thanks for staying with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My English is I don't know, but I begin. One moment. What do you mean? Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me here. During this presentation, we will talk about the following point. Why do what? Sorry, I don't know. Okay. Why do dunes ecosystem matter? Native and exotic beach plants, how to recognize the difference, and Hanon method for creating a beach flora file guide, and an example for Yucatan, Mexico. Well, let's begin with the question, what is dunes? Dunes are a sandy formation for aeolian origin. But what does aeolian mean? Aeolian means that it is carried by the wind. You can observe the movement of sand grains in this image. And then dunes can vary greatly in height and length. The range is from 30 centimeters to 1.30 meters of height, and they can extend several kilometers away from the sea. Dunes provide, they reside, provide, and store sand transported to an adjacent beaches. I don't know. Dunes provide ecosystem service, but it's important to say what are those, no? These are the benefits that society obtains for natural ecosystems. These benefits are essential for human health and the economy. Often these services go unnoticed and are taken for granted, but they are fundamental to life on Earth. What ecosystem service do dunes provide? Primary production. When plants die, they contribute nutrients to the ecosystems. And in the case of pollination, it is essential for maintaining biodiversity. Sediment supply is important for maintaining wide and beautiful beaches, and water regulation. During a strong storm, dunes help control flooding. Additionally, some dunes plants are so beautiful that they are used as decoration and raw materials, food, and medicine too. In this case, you can see Hymenocallis littoralis. It's a beautiful plant in dunes. They are also important for the beauty and as recreational areas. Let's move on another question. Why is vegetation important? Because it enhances soil nutrients and water retention, roots stabilize sand, and leaves increases organic matter. Vegetation provides protection, habitat, and food for organisms. Turtles commonly nest on dune system. You can see Lepidochelys kempi in this case, and in 3 species of sea turtles arrive on the Yucatan coast during the summer. And they have a lot of problems with the anthropic disturbs. As I mentioned before, the dunes ecosystem is very dynamic. It constantly changes, but human activities can alter the dynamic balance that characterizes them. What happened when a hurricane or a storm hit? In this series of images, you can observe the change of dune undergoes. Wind can only move dry sand. When a storm impacts, the incipient dune disappear. Post-storm, due to the collapse to the base of the primary dunes scarp, and as time goes, by the dunes recovery, they form. Pierdo mi botón. Ay, ¿dónde está? Look at this image as well. As you can see, over time, the ecosystem recovered. Calm condition after the storm and recovery. Some plants, its point is important. Some plants can survive after being buried by sand, like this grand species, no? Ammophila arenaria. Therefore, there are resilient ecosystems. They have the ability to recover after a hurricane or a storm. In this image, I'm showing you a beach profile. It's in Cisal, Yucatan. where different plants are distributed along the coast, close to the sea. You can see near to the mar in this image. You can see plants that are more tolerant to tides. Some cover the ground and small shrubs. Farther for the beach, we find taller plants. Why? Why we can find taller plants like trees? Because the substrate in these areas is more stable and rich in nutrients. Here are some common native species near the beach that you can find in Yucatan. Caquile edentula. It lives a few months, but produces and disperses many seeds, and is a beautiful plant. This species support the buried by sand. Ipomea pescapre. Sorry, is bad the image. Its leaves are used like medicine for kidney problems. Scaevola. Its fruits are edible. You can see in this image. It has black berries. They look like blueberries, right? And Suriana is plants. I like it. It smells particularly delicious when it blooms. Now, among the native species farther from the beach, you can also find the tree of Cordia dodecandra. Is a tree. Is nectar and pollen sources. Is beautiful the flower. Is ornamental, medicine too, edible, timber, and leaves uses to wash dishes. Is interesting this point. And another tree is Phytecelobium dulce. Is honey producing. Its roots call the attention of birds. It has medicinal uses and is an edible fruit and timber too. As I mentioned before, native species is a concept that we will review. What is a native species? A native species is one that naturally occurs in a region without human introduction. In this image, you can see Opuntia is a nopal in Spanish. Is a native species in the dunes. And Canavalia rosea, the common name in Yucatan is frijol de playa bean. This species, or the native species, are adaptable to local conditions and play an important role in the ecological balance. When the natural vegetation is removed or disturbed, it creates open space that weakens the ecosystem resilience. And this makes it easier for exotic or invasive non-native species to invite. In this image, you can see exotic palm trees used in Sisal, in the beach of Sisal, to divide land. And another exotic plant you can see in Sisal is Scaevola tacata. This species can also change soil condition and make it harder for native dune plants to recover, which affects the animals that depend on them. In Cancun is very common this species. Another example of exotic or invasive species is Casuarina echisetifolia. It's an Australian tree. And over time, this alters the entire dune ecosystem and weakens its ability to protect the coast. Is very dangerous in Cisal, this species. Another non-native species is the Cocos nucifera. Is an Asian species. Alters natural process, reduce resilience, and compromises the ecosystem service don't provide. And all the people in the beach want to have a cocos in her in his in oh sorry in the house is a big problem. How can we identify exotic species? They usually dominate the area quickly. Uh, you can see species that occupy more than 50% of the space. You can review this species. If you observe carefully, you can notice they are new in the area. If you saw a different species, it's important to review the species. You can take pictures and upload them to the platform. I recommend eNaturalist because a lot of experts can identify the species. And is important an important note. Plants are identified based on their flowers and fruit, and then you need to take picture about flowers and fruit of the plant. On the other hand, like said Camilo, my work focuses on plant communities and community outreach. Having a coastal vegetation guide provide everyone a useful tool to identify the most common native species along the Yucatan coast. We so the first thing we did was walking the coastline, and we list the species we saw and collect them to send to herbaria for expert identification. No? Then, once we understood how they are distributed in the coastal dunes, we select the most common ones and include them in this guide. No? You can see in this image for different species, but very important in the first dunes in Sisal: Ambrosia, Bravaricia, Euphorbia, Scaevola. No? It's important to include information about each plant species, where it is distributed along the coast. It's important to know if the plants is stay in the first dunes or into the coast, no? And any traditional practice and uses, for example, is it medicinal? Is it edible? Does it have cultural or ornamental value? Finally, take photos. It's important to take a lot of photos. Remember, we need to think in flowers and fruits, principally. Preferably when the plant has flowers and fruits. It's possible also take note in which month the plant flowered and when it produced the fruit. And you can organize your guide in different ways, for example, by flowers color, by flowers flowering month, um, ay, ay, no sé cómo regresar. Ay, sorry. Oh, it is important that there are regional guides that are frequently updated so they can help maintain diversity and avoid the colonization of invasive exotic species. Oh, uh, this is all. Thank you once again for your time and attention. I'm part of the collective Reciclando Dunas. You can look for us in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Okay,
It's
thank you
all.
very much, Patricia. I have some questions, but first I will like to give a space to the question that is in the chat. Maybe you can check there. That is a question from Caroline about if is there a taxonomy flow chart for identification of plants. And Caroline said that she used to have a taxonomy book in her university classes. So she said that sure there is something on the computer now. I think Caroline, this is the iNaturalist or even the PlantNet that we are using. I think this is at least the species are there, but about the taxonomy flow chart, you, Patricia, you are biologist, so I think you understand better than any of us. When exists this taxonomy flow chart for dunes?
Exist taxonomic person?
No, taxonomy flow charts. You know that in taxonomy
Mhm.
that we have the families, and I don't remember. I never remember that. It's the family and the species and
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
subfamily and
Well, I have one. I prepare for the all the coast in Yucatan. Uh, if I want, I can compartirlo.
that. Yeah, you can share with us.
Yes, yes, yes. It's in PDF.
Okay.
Uh, yes, but is a tropical vegetation. Um, I don't know. I need to review if I can't um, find some about the north vegetation. I don't know, but I can find.
Yeah, yeah, because I think this is what you say at the end is connected with what Robin said about if are there any guides to beach vegetation of Nova Scotia or Atlantic Canada. We found some of them, Robin,
Yeah.
but most of them are for non-coastal vegetation. You know,
Yeah.
most of them are for parks or a lot of the forest. You know, the
These are some of the Todd Bowl,
Oh, okay.
which are very good, and they do have some like beach peas, for example, are in this, but it's for vegetation in general, and it would be helpful if there's something that was focused on beach ecosystems.
Mhm.
yeah, that's true. We've with the marine biology students, we found 3 or 4 different books related with vegetation in Nova Scotia or in the Atlantic Canada, and we extract. If I agree, if I remember fine, I think there were more than 50. I don't know exactly the number, but around 50 different species that we identify that they should be here. You know, is that this is the whole list. This is
Uh-huh.
our challenge this summer is try to identify we have the same species here, because now we are identifying the species with PlantNet. That PlantNet gives us a list of species with the probability, but normally we don't know if this species is or not the right species. So this is why it's important to have this first list. We will have a student that she will be with us during the summer. So in 3 weeks that we're gonna be here in Nova Scotia with Patricia, and we will be visiting all the beaches. Also, this student, she will be with us. She will be our local botanist. So the idea is that Patricia and Christine is her name. They will, join powers, botanist power, and with us to try to identify the different species. But we want to start with this species that we already identified in these general guides.
Yes, but remember, these species have a little time or life. The cycle of life is short,
Yeah,
and you can find some species in summer and another in autumn, and it's the same in the tropical coast, like sisal. Not are nor are here in this site all the
yeah,
time the same species.
yeah, yeah. No, and here the change is quite big. This is why we are, and this is part of my question that now we are the plants are just growing. You know, today in May we still don't have a moss plant on the beach. There are some small sprouts, but we don't have now the plants. You know, it's some small leaves. In June, July, finally we're gonna have the plants and the flowers, but not all the plants they have flowers.
Uh-huh.
How can we
Yes.
identify plants without flowers? Because leaves, all of them looks very similar.
Yes, but when the plant have flowers, you can collect the plant, all the plant with leaves, and in another moment that you go to the beach, you can the leaves, and maybe is possible to recognize the plant. I think.
Yeah,
But it's important. I recommend this platform, Naturalist, because all the expert uh, to to identify the species,
and they
and if
help to identify.
you
Yeah,
yes, but you need the flowers on the fruit.
yeah.
Yes.
But for example, grass, dune grass, they don't have flowers. No, right?
No, yeah, but well,
But
you can find the espigas. I don't know
yeah,
how you say espigas in English, but the first leaf big.
okay, yeah, yeah. Now I know what are the
You
flowers.
can take
Yeah,
yes.
okay. And also, Caroline, I don't know, Caroline, you want to open your microphone now because it looks like you are quite an expert in vegetation.
Uh-huh.
Caroline,
There we
yeah,
are.
yeah,
Flowers,
perfect.
have
I
flowers, yes.
I, uh, I studied botanies in university. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Great. And I have a question for you, Caroline. You know that in your experience, because you have very nice questions, is do you recognize, but I think also for Robin, it could be this conversation because I know that Robin is also passionate about vegetation, and he has very nice records for I don't know how many years, but I was surprised when you showed me this folder that year, Robin, with all the vegetation. Which species do you recognize on beaches, and which species do you think that they are invasive species?
Well, the purple vetch or the peas, I recognize those. They're similar to the ones she showed, and I think they're brought over. Um, I am not so sure about the um, morning glories, wild morning glories.
Yeah,
She had those in purple. We have them in pink.
yeah,
I just
okay.
find the ones that are invasive are the ones that take over the beaches over the other plants.
Yeah,
So,
and then this was something interesting that Patricia said about
Uh,
the impacts of invasive species. I think it's something that we should remember and to say, to everyone that the at least this was the three main impacts that I identify in Patricia's presentation about that the invasive species first reduce biodiversity. And I think is, but if we want to know which is the level of reduction, first we need to have a baseline. So first we need to know which species we have in order to know if we are reducing or not the biodiversity. But so this is why we need to do the first step is just to know which species we have. But also to change the soil conditions, I think it's interesting because the soil on the beach used to be just sand. So I have this question to you, Patricia, now that I remember that when we are speaking about change the soil conditions, it means that we change from sand to soil, to
uh-huh. It
this.
reduce.
Okay, this is a negative impact in this case.
Yes, in the land,
Yeah,
the nutrients is high,
yeah,
and the salt is
yeah, it's lower.
less. Yes.
Okay. I know because this is exactly what is happening here in the beach that is close to my house, close to my home, is that we have some seaweed that are on the beach. They cover totally the beach. My theory is that because now we have a stronger storm, we have a stronger waves, so they throw They threw the seaweed uh, in a place that it was not able to reach by the waves later, so they remain there. So they start creating some kind of soil, and now we have a lot of invasive species. But the thing is that it's supposed that we cannot take this vegetation until we know that they're really invasive. But now I think that these changed soil conditions, it could be related with that.
Well,
So
the neap tides also, where we have spring tides are higher,
yeah,
so it might not even be storm activities. It just depends if our spring tides are higher than usual.
yeah, that's true. That's interesting. And about tides,
The tide.
just to remember that here in the Eastern Shore, we have very, very few tide gauges. So one of the goals that we have in our network also, this is something that we're gonna speak also, we're gonna talk during the workshops. But the idea is that this year we can start measuring the tides. Now we have a connection with the some researchers in the University of Quebec and Rimouski. So the idea that we have our own tide gauges, so we can see exactly what is the variation, because normally the tide, the difference is just centimeters. So we need to have our own equipment to know exactly how is the change with these spring tides. So this is very interesting, Caroline. Very interesting.
Now, do we have some beaches that have not been accessed by people? You know, because humans bring seeds and that with them on their clothes, feet, and their cargo originally when they come
Yeah.
over. Now, if we found a beach that wasn't visited, we could compare
Yeah,
the
and
plants.
yeah, we have, and we're gonna go with Patricia. But if you want to come, we can speak with Ryan, because now we have the Wild Island. You don't know that is in front of Morpheus Cove. That there are
Mhm.
all these islands that there are more than 700, but they call the 100 Wild Islands. Now we have one beach. The plan, the goal is to have 8 beaches in the future, but now we started with one. But these beaches are on islands that is nobody living there, and now they are property of the Nova Scotia Nature Trust. So nobody will live there in the future, at least in the near future. So I think this is a great idea, Caroline, that we can compare these beaches, especially this sandbar beach, with the other beaches, so we can start doing some comparison.
Mhm.
So great, great. I'm sharing also my screen because I wanted to show you some of the species that I identified. Leon, that is here, that also with us, and also Stuart and Robin, we have our PlanNet user. So you can visit all of our
Mhm.
observations. But I just want to show you this one because I was on the beach
Mhm.
3 days ago, May 19. And these were the species that I identified on the beach here in Black
Uh-huh.
Dog Cove. So maybe if you can, any of you, if you recognize this species, which of these species do you think are native and which are invasive?
Mm,
So bush grass.
I think that we need to review the book
Yeah,
and well in the literature you can find the origin of the species.
I suppose that if we click here, we can go to the species. But normally it say that it's in Eastern Canada,
Uh-huh.
but at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's exactly a beach plant. And normally
Uh-huh.
we can see here, this is just my observation, these are my pictures.
Uh-huh.
And I try to, we don't have flowers yet, so I was trying to have a picture of the leaves and also the bark. And here I have, this is, here I say that the leaf, here is the
Uh-huh. Yes.
bark.
Uh-huh.
But if we go to another plant, this is one of the plant that we identified, but that is a plant that we think this is not really native is this giant hogweed. I don't know, Caroline or Robin, do you identify this species? The giant hogweed? Have you seen before?
No, I don't.
No, because in the
Yeah, don't
distribution,
touch that one. Don't touch that.
don't touch that one. Yeah, this is phototoxic.
Well, yeah, it causes burns from UV. So if you get the juice of it on your hand, it will make your skin sensitive to UV rays, and it will burn you really fast.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
this
And don't eat it.
yeah.
but it's important to remove the invasive species.
Yeah, no, this is the map that could also give us an
Close.
idea if this is invasive or not. You know, it's in the same latitude at the end. Okay, there are some in the north part of Norway. But here we can check here in PlantNet some phenology, but it's just based on their data that they have. You know, but here we can see the leaf. It's supposed that we will have the flowers in June, June to July, and the fruit. Let's say that some records of fruits, 24 records of fruits in August, but this is not too many of them. Here is about the northern hemisphere, the southern. There are not too many. Just 3 pictures. So this is why it's so crazy, because we don't have. We have only 4 observations. So this is why it's so crazy.
Yes.
This graph totally different with this one that we have 689. But this is the way that also you can play, because if you are not having fun doing science, is that you need to rethink about to be citizen scientist. But I know that you are having fun with that, so just go there to the website and have fun as I have. Just checking that and say, oh wow, there are 7,874 observations about this species at the sea level. And I discovered here, I think it was in the uses, that say that it's poison.
Ornamental. It's poison.
It's poison for mammal, as Caroline say.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the seeds are contaminants, so don't eat the seeds, and don't make cakes with this plant. And I would like just to check
Another
here.
way to
Sorry, yeah, Caroline.
another way to investigate if something is a native plant, but maybe if we try to find some information from the indigenous people, have a history, see what plants were mentioned in history or in their medicines, and that would give you a better idea if something was here long before colonizers brought their seeds with them.
Yeah, totally. This is also part of our desire, and now I'm very happy that we have you here. So you are our connection, with the indigenous world, and I'm very excited also about that. So it would be great that maybe during autumn, in fall, September, October. We don't know yet. We didn't have the spring workshops, so I don't want to start thinking about the fall workshops. I'm so busy, preparing the next week workshops. But will be great that maybe we can think about in during the fall workshops we can do some activity with indigenous knowledge about plants. I think it will be great activity. And also, this is a project that Caroline and we have, and we will speak about that later. It's about our weather blankets. Do Anne, Leon, Marie, what is a weather blanket, Robin? Not any guess? What could be a weather blanket? Okay, Caroline, could you explain us while I try to find the species here in iNaturalist very briefly?
Well, you take your temperature reading or even your precipitation readings. You could go with one or the other, and each day you crochet or knit or sew a color that represents that temperature or precipitation. So at the end of the year, you have 365 strips or stripes of colored fabric yarn or whatever. You could crochet it. And it will give you a visual representation of what your temperature gradients look like and what your precipitation levels were.
Yeah. Now we have a small plan to have our weather blankets soon. So that will be maybe a Christmas gift for someone that we love. I think it will be great to say, look, this was the weather during the year. So I give you the weather of my house, because now we have our weather station, so we can know exactly which was the weather, the wind. We could have, many blankets, for wind, for precipitation, for everything. But this is about weather. It was just something that I remember. But Patricia, could you help me how to identify here in iNaturalist the species that we are interested for?
¿Te digo el nombre de una planta?
No, with this plant, with I want to check that, this is in PlantNet. I would like to identify the same species here in iNaturalist. But when I go here, and I just paste the scientific name. And this is something that is very important when we are working with plants and animals, that it's better to call them by their scientific name. So that because the common names used to change from one place to another and from one language to another, of course.
Okay, I use sometimes this platform because I work with botanists, people that identify my species, no?
Yeah. Yeah, because okay, finally here.
Okay.
Jian Hotwit. Okay. So let's try to say Nova Scotia. And do we have? Okay, we have 16 observations in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the flower, I think, if I remember well.
In the forest, right? Or
Yeah, that's true. That's a great observation. None of them looks that they are on the beach.
No, okay.
So now, but Patricia, you are the expert. Can we say that this is an invasive species because it's not on the beach normally? Or is that not enough information to say that this is an invasive species?
This species, I don't know.
No, but in general. So the species that are on the beach, because beaches doesn't have soil, it's just sand. So I have some idea that those species that are on the beach, they won't be, or very difficult, they will be inland, because they are better to grow over the sand, not in the ground, not in the soil.
Yes.
This plant prefers like ditches and wet areas. So if the beach has like a pond draining water to this, or a stream or something, that it might be there. But it likes fresh water and wet soil.
Yes, the weather is stresses for all plants, but the invasive species support this environment stress.
Okay. Yeah.
Some species in Sisal, we find only 10 invasive species. But when a invasive species established in the coast, it's very difficult to eliminate.
Yeah.
We need to remove the species when the species doesn't have flowers or fruits, because if the plant have fruits, we we remove and disperse the seeds, no?
Yeah. Yeah, so they need to be before blossom. So now we are in the right time to do it. We cannot do it yet because we don't have authorization to eradicate plants. But maybe next year it could be part of our project, that now that we are sure that we have invasive species, we can request the authorization from the Department of Environment, the Provincial Department of Environment, to do a project next spring in which we can go to the beaches and eradicate these species.
Yes, it is very important because the pollination is a problem in all the world, not only in the tropical countries, no?
Yeah, totally.
Yes, it's
Totally.
necessary to remove the invasive species.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I would like to go back a little to the chat because Robin sent some very interesting comments. One of them is that Robin said that we could start to build a guide to local beach vegetation based on observation like the ones you are sharing on the screen. And this is exactly the plan. This is why now we have a marine biology student. And this is why our plan is that we're going to go, the team will be Patricia, Christine, and me. We're going to go in our car, I don't know if we're going to go in my small and very fast car, or we're going to rent another car. But the idea is that we're going to go in the car. And the idea is, for example, we go to Robin's, we pick Robin up and we go together to the beach, and we go, and if anyone wants to go there, we gonna identify beaches together, and later we go to another beach, for example, to Moosehead, and we go with Leon and Anne and Stuart, and we identify together. So, but the main outcome from Christine will be to create a identification pocket guide. So our goal is that in August we will have, okay, in June we're gonna have a list of species. So the idea is we're gonna go to try to identify the species, because one of the problems that we have now is that when we are using the PlantNet application to identify the species, it gave us many different options, and sometimes we don't know is this exactly the species, because, and this is why it's very important the comment from Caroline about the taxonomy, because could be the same, could be like a cousin of the species, but it's not really the species. So we really want to know if it's this species or not. So we're gonna have this list of species that should be here in the Eastern Canada, and we will try to identify. But Christine will be paying attention about what we identify with Patricia and with you during June. And during July, Christine will be working in draw and to have some tips to identify the species. And we're gonna go again to the beach. I think Patricia won't be here because she will be back in Mexico. But the idea that at least with Christine, we will go back to the beach with you again, but with this this identification pocket guide. And the idea that you test the guide, because if it is not useful for us as a citizen scientist, it is not useful at the end. If only botanists can use this guide, it's not really useful for us as a citizen scientist. The idea is that will be enough clear for us to go to the beach and very easily, if we have any doubt, we can identify. And the goal is that at the end of the summer, we're gonna identify very easily the most common species, because we have a list of, I think, no more than 15 different species in our beaches. They are the most common, but also the idea that we can identify which are the invasive. And after that, next year, you will be trained observers of plants, so you can identify very easily and say, this is this species, this is this species, this is the other, and you can identify which are the new species, so we can start identify the new invasive species. This is the idea. I don't know, Robin, if this is for your comment that you did in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that because we also often can't access the internet when we're at the beach, it's helps if there's a list of things that we might find, that we compare it to. Um, uh, so I was thinking if there was something that brought together the species that we could expect to find at the beach, that might help us compare that with what we have in front of us. And then, of course, we can take the photos back and do more work on when we're back online. But it helps for that first stage of trying to identify.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is the idea that we have this pocket guide, so it will be easy for us. And in the midterm, as you mentioned, the wildflowers of Nova Scotia, in the midterm will be ideal. This is, one of my desires. I don't know if I will have enough time and support, human and financial support to do that, but it will be great that we can have our own book, like this book by Todd Boland. That's, my dream will be that we have a book that will be called Beach Vegetation of the Eastern Shore of Nova Scotia. That's just based on us, that will be useful for maybe the people in Cape Breton or maybe in the South Shore, of course, but it would be great that finally we have something for our area, that we are the forgotten shore, so that we can show to everyone what we have here and how we are taking care of that.
Maybe put some recipes in the back of the ones that are edible.
Yeah, exactly. Some recipes and also some clear message that don't do a recipe with the giant hot wheat, for example, or something like that. Yeah, no, and the indigenous knowledge will be very important in this moment.
Maybe we could add on some myths too, and some of the Mi'kmaq traditional uses of it. Like
Yeah. This is exactly what I want to say. Yeah, the idea that we can have some indigenous knowledge in this guide, so we can have these mixtures that we have here in our area. That will be amazing. And also some Acadian heritage. Now we are ready to create a coastal climate team in the Eastern Shore Acadian shores. This will be next Friday. Next Friday. Yeah, and Robin will be also with me there. So I'm very happy that Robin will be able to stay with me in this workshop. So we can, include all of this knowledge together. I think this will be amazing. Yeah, I would like to go back also to the chat. And Andrea confirmed that this giant hogweed is an invasive species. So, but now we just need, this is why science is important, because if we go to the Department of Environment just to say, okay, I want to eradicate this plant because someone said, I was on a webinar and someone said that this is invasive species, and this is a professor from Mexico. They say, okay, but who is her? We need some report, we need some data. So now we're gonna go to their side. We have the Mexican professor, but also we have our data. We have here that these plants are in those beaches, and taking the idea from Caroline, we were in the wild islands and there are not giant hotweed there. So it looks like this plant is not part of the beach. And we were speaking with some indigenous elders, and they say that there is not any reference in the past about this species. So now we have some more information about that. Could we eradicate the plant? This is the idea. This is why science is useful, because we support with some data, but not just the data. The indigenous knowledge is so important. Our daily knowledge is so important. So all kinds of knowledge are important to support these activities.
To follow up on what Anne was saying as well, that it might be nice to have, as well as the scientific name and the common name, the Mi'kmaq name. One of the things about the Mi'kmaq names, I have a friend who's Mi'kmaq who's always posting about, various animals, birds, plants, etc., with their Mi'kmaq names and their uses. But the names often incorporate information about how the species fits in the ecosystem as well.
So interesting. Yeah, no, the idea with the pocket guide and also the book, if someday we have it, will be in four languages. One will be the scientific name, that is in Latin, because this is worldwide. But will be in English, will be in Mi'kmaq, and will be in French. This is the goal. that we have in the three languages, because the scientific name is just the scientific name, but the idea that we have in the three different languages, because we have these three languages here on the Eastern Shore. So we need to offer respect to the three languages. This is the plan. Great. So any other comment, any other?
I just had one quick question. Patricia, would you expect to see, or maybe Carolyn, would you expect to see plants from, say, Mexico or some other region having migrated over to our shores?
I don't
A lot of the
Yeah, I will translate very briefly in Spanish, so I think it will be easy.
Okay.
Que si tú creerías que especies de México pueden estar aquí en Nueva Escocia.
Yes, the invasive species are very strong and support the different weathers, and for example the coconuts, the coconuts, sorry, the coconut
Coconuts, yeah.
coconut is a Asian species, and you can find in all different kind of weather in all the world, no? Yes, we can find all the species in Australian. The nopal, remember this species that I put in the presentation, opuntia, with orange flowers. This species colonized a lot of places in Australia, and was very difficult to eliminate.
From Mexico to Australia. Wow, this is
Mexico to Australia,
quite a
and
big
Australia
trip.
and Australia to Mexico is the tree that I put in my presentation, the
casuarina.
The casuarina, yes. It's important to promote between the people to have in the garden native species, because in Sisal we have a problem because the people buy plants in some how do you say, invernadero, greenhouse,
Greenhouse,
in
yeah.
a greenhouse, in another places, and put in the garden, and then the garden go to the beach.
Yeah.
And it's an important point, no, to promote the use of the native species in the garden near to the coast.
That's a really good point. Thank you for identifying that. And it's exciting to hear all this conversation around native plants and dunes and talking about restoration. I just had one other question. And how long does it usually take for a beach to restore itself after a storm?
Maybe
years. Are we talking years, do you find?
In maybe in 1 year.
Okay.
1 year, only if the vegetation around is the same. The regeneration is very fast, but if these turf are hard, by the persons, like when the people cut the vegetation and build a house or a, I don't know.
The houses, yeah.
Yes, it's very difficult to the regeneration after the hurricane, and the hurricane is very hard over the house. If you have dunes with vegetation, the hurricane hit in the dunes.
Protect the house.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. Now I'm just taking notes about the negative effect of the invasive species, but also this question about the recovery. I think it's also so interesting that we can, start doing some research project with our data. And this is also a news for all of you, that just please start thinking about research questions that you would like to resolve. For example, how long will be the recovery in a beach, in Moosehead Beach, just to say, because Anne was asking for. Because the idea is that next academic year, we want to work with the schools. I already spoke with 4 different professors, the Oceanist 11 professors. In Chill Harbor, that is Jonathan, this is part of our network, but also in Sherbrooke, that's St. Mary's Academy, also in Canso Academy, and in Guysbrook Academy. And the plan is that the kids, they can do some research project with us, because they have many courses, not just Ocean 11, they have science, they have also maths, they have many different courses that they can use our data. But we need to give to them some interesting research questions. That, for example, which beach, this is just an idea, which beach will be recovering faster? And we take all of our 8 beaches, and we imagine that we have a storm, and later we imagine that we have a hurricane, and we say, okay, which will be the beach that will be recovering faster? And now we can do it because we have data.
Yes. And maybe it's a beach that the native species is very conservation, no? And is not invasive species in this area.
Yeah, exactly. We can cross the data that we have about the different species with the recovery, the how fast could be recovered a specific beach.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you have any other question, any other comment. We have been here for 1 hour and 16 minutes. So I think it's great. I'm very happy. And you were very participative. I think this is great. So I think this topic about vegetation, we like this topic. So we're gonna continue doing that. So next time, speaking about vegetation, we will be in the field. We're gonna be on the beach. So we'll be visiting there. So for the people that will be watching this recording, if you are in the Eastern Shore of Nova Scotia, lucky you, because you will be with us. If you are not here, just connect with us, and maybe someday you can visit us and go with us to the beach, because we are the beach citizen scientists. We like to go to the beach just for having fun and do science. So thank you very much for staying here. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us.
Thank you. And